By now, most of us have probably heard or seen the term keto. According to the Google Trends report for the US, Google searches for the word keto rose sharply from 0% of peak interest in November 2015 to 100% of peak interest in January 2019. Interest in keto remains high to this day. So, what exactly is keto anyway? In this video, we'll take a deep dive into precisely what keto is and what it does, so you can make an informed decision about whether or not it's for you. All that, coming right up. Keto is short for ketogenic, or ketosis. Ketosis is a natural metabolic state in which the body preferentially burns stored fat instead of carbohydrates. Fat or triglyceride molecules contain more than double the energy of carbs. They consist of a 3-carbon backbone known as glycerol, with 3 fatty acids attached. Fat molecules are too large to fit into our cells, so they must be broken down into glycerol and free fatty acids before entering our cells. This reaction requires 3 water molecules to fill the gaps. Glucose, which is the Greek word for sweet, is a simple sugar that serves as the basic building block of carbohydrates. The glucose molecule is comprised of 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. Carbohydrates and glucose are ubiquitous, but often hidden, in the standard American diet. Some of the more commonly consumed high-carb processed foods include bread, breakfast cereals, chips, pizza, pasta, fries and sugary beverages. Even what many consider to be healthy fruit juices are typically loaded with sugar. Our bodies require energy to function, but pound for pound, our brain is the biggest energy hog. While it makes up only about 2% of our body weight, it uses 20% of our total energy expenditure. There are 2 primary fuel sources that our brains can use, namely glucose and ketones, both of which have the critical ability to cross the blood-brain barrier. Glucose comes from carbohydrates, while ketones come from fatty acids, which in turn come from fats. Our bodies can make all the glucose we need through a process called gluconeogenesis, so there is no need for us to consume carbohydrates. In other words, there are no carbohydrates that are essential to our diet. On the other hand, there are certain fatty acids that are essential to our diet because our bodies need them but can't make them. So, we must eat certain fats to survive. But that said, let's take a look at what happens inside our bodies when we consume a diet consisting primarily of carbs. Enzymes in our saliva begin to break down carbohydrates as we chew our food. Additional enzymes in our small intestine further break down the carbohydrates into glucose, which is water-soluble, like blood, so it enters the blood directly. Fat is not soluble in water, so special pods called chylomicrons transport fat through the blood. Glucose molecules from the carb-rich meal begin to flood our bloodstream. This triggers our pancreas to excrete the hormone, insulin, whose job is to clear glucose from our bloodstream by ushering it into our liver and muscles, where it is stored as a compound called glycogen. Our glycogen storage capacity is limited, so when that limit is reached, insulin ushers the remaining excess glucose from our bloodstream into our fat cells. For many of us who follow the carb-laden standard American diet, we repeat this process as soon as insulin finishes clearing our bloodstream of excess carbs when our sugar craving returns. The end result is that the unused sugar slowly converts to fat, which accumulates in our fat cells. Now, let's take a look at what happens when our blood sugar remains low for extended periods. The stored fatty acids that have been split off from fat molecules and stored in our fat cells get released into our bloodstream. Our liver takes up the free fatty acids and converts them into ketones, primarily beta-hydroxybutyrate, or BHB. Finally, our liver releases BHB into our bloodstream so it can be transported to our brain and other major organs for fuel. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe.